The words that broke me weren't shouted in anger, but spoken with cold, factual disappointment over the sizzle of Sunday morning bacon in our Pittsburgh kitchen. My father, Robert Miller, a broad-shouldered former high school linebacker turned foreman, not even looking up from his newspaper, as my mother, Carol, placed his plate before him. The headline about the city's new police academy class glaring up at us, and I, at 17, my heart pounding with a fragile hope, whispered, I got the brochure for the county EMT course. Dad, it's a step toward, maybe paramedic school. My voice trailing off under the weight of his silence, which he finally broke with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the world, saying, Abigail, be practical. That's a man's job, running into burning buildings, hauling bodies. You're not built for it, and the cost. He shook his head, finally meeting my eyes, his gaze not cruel but utterly dismissive. A daughter is a blessing, sure, but let's be honest, they're a financial burden until you marry. Your brother, now he's got a future. You should focus on secretarial work, something stable, find a good man. Leave the uniforms and the heroics to those who can actually handle it. The blessing and burden landed in the same sentence, a theological and economic verdict on my entire being. My mother offering a weak, conciliatory smile that only deepened the wound, the humiliation complete and domestic. My dreams of a crisp medical uniform dissolving in the smell of bacon grace and paternal pragmatism. The following weeks a blur of silent obedience, as I enrolled in the community college office administration program, he suggested, my spirit leeching away in classrooms learning typing speeds and filing systems. The final, public twist of the knife coming at my brother Jack's college send-off barbecue in our backyard, where my dad, beer in hand, bragged to his buddies about Jack's football scholarship and engineering prospects. And when Uncle Mark joked, and what about Abby here? My father laughed, a booming, affectionate sound that carried over the chatter, and said, oh, she's my reliable one. She'll keep the home fires burning. Probably end up marrying some desk jockey and giving me grandkids. That's a daughter's real job, right? Cheaper than a son, at least. And the circle of men chuckled, a warm, inclusive chuckle that sealed my fate as a charmingly predictable cost saving measure, my face burning not with anger then, but with a devastating clarity that in this family, in this house, I would always be a supporting character in someone else's story, a line item on a ledger. And that very night, staring at the brochure for the EMT course I'd hidden under my mattress, I made the quiet, tectonic decision to leave, not with a dramatic slam of the door, but with the stealth of a ghost, packing a single duffel bag, taking $400 from my meager waitress savings, and boarding a pre-dawn bus to a city where no one knew I was Robert Miller's burden. Daughter, where I could rebuild myself from the ground up, atom by atom, into someone who could not only wear a uniform, but embody its purpose. A silent vow made to the passing highway lights that one day, he would see me not as a cost, but as a lifesaver. Cleveland, Ohio, in November was a palette of grays, the sky pressing down on the lakefront like a lid. My new home a rented corner of a drafty attic in a house shared with strangers. My first job at a call center in a strip mall, the headset of ice, the script a mantra of apologies for late bills, the uniform a cheap polo shirt with a logo that chafed my neck. Every thank you for calling, a tiny death of ambition, the loneliness of physical coldness that seeped deeper than the lake wind. My meals a rotation of ramen and stolen condiment packets. My silent tears soaking the thin pillow as I replayed my father's words on a loop. The self-doubt a constant companion, whispering that he was right, that I was delusional, that strength and service were male currencies I could never trade in. I moved south with the seasons, a hotel housekeeper in Cincinnati changing sheets that held the ghosts of happy families a stock clerk in a Nashville big box store where the Muzak Christmas carols felt like a personal mockery, each city a lesson in anonymity, each menial job uniform a testament to my perceived limitations, my body tired, my spirit worn thin, until one rain, slicked night in Louisville, walking home from a diner shift, I witnessed a fender bender at a dim intersection, the shock of metal on metal, and then a woman's cry. I froze, then ran, not thinking, just moving. There was no heroism, just a frantic fumbling for a phone to call 911, my hands shaking, my voice surprisingly calm as I relayed the location to the dispatcher. And then, with the operator guiding me, I stayed on the line, talking to the dazed driver until the beautiful, sweeping red and blue lights of an American ambulance arrived. The EMTs jumping out with a confident, purposeful grace that took my breath away. In that moment, watching them work, seeing the Louisville Metro EMS patches on their sleeves, something broke open inside me, not a breakdown, but a breakthrough. The desire wasn't about proving my father wrong anymore. It was about becoming that calm, capable, necessary. The very next day, I used my last 200 to enroll in a CPR and first aid course. The path was set. The journey from that Louisville street corner to wearing the uniform myself was a steep, solitary climb up a mountain of textbooks, sweat, and sleepless nights. I worked double shifts as a coffee barista in Indianapolis to save for the EMT basic course, studying the chapters on anatomy and trauma assessment between pulling espresso shots. My hands smelling of coffee grounds and antiseptic from practice bandaging. I passed the state exam on my first try, a quiet, private victory that felt more significant than any graduation. My first EMT job was with a private ambulance service in Chicago, the rig our rolling office, the city our chaotic patient, the uniform, navy blue pants, a sturdy button-up shirt, my name, Amelia, finally on a patch, felt like a suit of armor. The work was not glamorous, transporting elderly patients to dialysis, dealing with intoxicated individuals, witnessing the raw underbelly of urban America. But in it, I found my calling. I learned to start IVs in moving vehicles, to interpret heart rhythms on a monitor, to offer calm reassurance in the face of sheer terror. I absorbed knowledge like a sponge, training to become an advanced EMT, then setting my sights on paramedic school, the pinnacle of pre-hospital care. The financial and mental cost was enormous. I lived in a shared apartment with 3 other medics, survived on station food and adrenaline, my social life non-existent, every dollar and every waking hour poured into this new identity. The revenge was in the skill, the precise click of an oxygen tank, the confident push of life-saving medication, the calm, authoritative radio report to the hospital. This is Medic 42, inbound with a 60-year-old male, STEMI confirmed. I earned the respect of gruff firefighters and veteran nurses not through talk, but through consistent, competent action. After years on the Chicago streets, I sought a new challenge and tested for one of the most competitive medic positions in the country, with the Seattle Fire Department. When the acceptance letter came, I didn't call home. I packed my few belongings and drove west, toward the mountains and the sea, toward a destiny I had forged alone. Seattle was a different beast, a city of hills, water, and tech wealth, where emergencies ranged from high-rise rescues to wilderness medicine. The fire department uniform, the dark blue station pants, the crisp navy shirt with the SFD shield, the turnout gear that weighed heavily with purpose, became my second skin. I was no longer just Abigail. I was firefighter paramedic Miller, part of an elite tribe. I thrived in the structured chaos, the camaraderie of the firehouse, the relentless pursuit of mastery. I specialized in technical rescue, learning to rappel down cliffs and navigate collapsed structures. The little girl who was told she wasn't built for hauling bodies now carried high-tech equipment and human lives on her back, with equal ease. I bought a small condo with a view of the water, not with a husband's help, but with my own salary and overtime, a quiet testament to my financial independence. The thought of my father was a distant ache, not a driving force. My revenge was a life lived fully, a career of service that gave me more pride than I'd ever dreamed possible. The reckoning came on a rainy Tuesday, the kind of day that defines Seattle. Our station got a call for a man down, cardiac arrest, at a downtown conference hotel. It was a routine call until we arrived in the lavish ballroom, now a scene of panic. A distinguished older man in a suit was on the floor, his wife screaming. As my partner and I pushed through the crowd with our gear, my eyes registered the scene: clinically patient, bystanders, space. Then, as I dropped to my knees beside the man, rolling him to begin CPR, I saw his face. It was my father, Robert. His skin was a terrible ashen gray. For a single, suspended second, the world stopped. The noise of the crowd, my partner's voice, my own heartbeat, all silenced. Then a decade of training, of drilled-in muscle memory, took over. My brain compartmentalized the shock, locked it away in a box marked, later. "Dad, it's Abby," I whispered, a professional habit to orient even unconscious patients, though I knew he couldn't hear me. "Start compressions, I'll get the airway," I said to my partner, my voice steady, my hands already reaching for the bag, valve mask and the monitor leads. I moved with a swift, calm precision that felt outside of myself. I intubated him, securing an airway. I analyzed the rhythm on the monitor. V-fib, I stated. Charging to 200. Clear. The shock jolted his body. We resumed CPR. I administered the precise medications from our kits, calling out dosages and times. My world narrowed to the square of carpet beneath my knees, to the rhythm of compressions, to the waveform on the screen. Check pulse. Nothing. Resume compressions. Second epi in. We worked in seamless sync, a well-oiled machine fighting death in a room full of silk and chandeliers. My mother, Carol, was there, being held back by hotel staff, her face a mask of pure horror, her eyes wide, not just with fear for her husband, but with the incomprehensible sight of her burdened daughter. Her Abigail, in the heavy, authoritative uniform of a Seattle firefighter, paramedic, kneeling in the center of the storm, commanding the situation with a gravity that silenced the room. She saw the confidence in my hands, the respect in my partner's eyes, as he followed my lead. The life and death authority I wielded as casually as my father once wielded a newspaper. After what felt like an eternity, a pulse flickered on the monitor. A weak, thready rhythm. But it was a rhythm. "We have a pulse," I said, my voice cracking just once. As we packaged him for transport, securing him to the gurney, my mother finally broke free and stumbled forward. She looked from my father's ashen face to mine, streaked with sweat under my helmet. Her gaze traveled over my uniform, the SFD patch, the paramedic insignia, the suit and duty stains. The understanding that dawned there was catastrophic. It wasn't just that I was a paramedic. It was that I was his paramedic. The daughter he'd called a burden had just hauled his body back from the brink. The financial cost he'd worried about had paid for the hands that now held his heart beating. She didn't speak. She just reached out a trembling hand and touched the sleeve of my turnout coat, her fingers brushing the coarse, fireproof material as if touching a relic. A single, solid sob broke from her. It held a lifetime of regret, of shattered assumptions, of awe. I met her eyes for a brief second, and gave a small, professional nod. "We're taking him to Harborview. Follow the ambulance." There was no, "I told you so," no triumph. There was only the job, and the profound, silent truth, now hanging in the air between us. In the back of the rig, monitoring my father's vital signs, the sirens wailing our progress, I felt the final piece of the old wound settle and close. The burden had not been me. It had been his limited vision. And in this uniform, with these skills, I had not carried a burden, I had carried a life. His life. And that was a weight I was built and reborn to bear. YouTube and thumbnail optimization package. YouTube title. He said daughters are burdens. I became the paramedic who saved his life. Emotional story. YouTube description. Abigail was told by her father that daughters were financial burdens, unfit for a life of service in uniform. This is her emotional, USA-based journey from a dismissed girl to a Seattle Fire Department paramedic. Witness the moment her family's world shatters, when she is the one who arrives in uniform to save her own father's life. A powerful story of quiet resilience, proving your worth, and the ultimate, dignified revenge.